Hey, and welcome to Leadershipisation, all things leadership. Couple of little technical issues going on in the background today, so just bear with us as I familiarise myself with some of the things that I need to be able to do to get this across to you. So, I'm Beth Bergen. I'm a global leadership and communication coach. I help and I work with executives, with managers, and with business owners. And it's all about building their influence through powerful communication and leadership so that they can build cohesive teams, they can drive the results, and they can increase their visibility in their workplace and in their industry. And I am here most every single Tuesday at 1 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time. Now, I'm taking a bit of a sidewise step today. And instead of looking at necessarily new information, what I'm doing with you is I'm looking at um, what are some resources that I would recommend to people. I'm often asked, what resources, what books, what videos might you recommend with me to start my leadership and my communication journey with? And I've got literally hundreds of those. Like if you could see behind me, I have got from floor to ceiling bookshelves that are just full of awesome books. Plus, I have lots and lots of resources, lots and lots of video resources that I access as well. So today, what I want to do is to share with you just 5 of those. So I'm going to do a brief summary of each one. And then what I will do is provide you with a link. So the first one that I want to look at is this book here, which is a book called Surrounded by Idiots by Thomas Erickson. And this is about 10 years old, about 10 years ago, I think 2014, 2015. And what it does is it examines 4 types of human behavior. And it's all about helping us to understand others and to improve communication. Because when we don't do that, we figure that everybody else is an idiot and we're the expert. Yeah. And so that can lead to a breakdown of our relationships with others. So this is all about how people function and why there are times when we really struggle to connect. So what Erickson does is he breaks it down into 4 behavior types. There's red, which is a bit of an alpha, and they're driven, they're independent, they're ambitious, they're forceful, they're really determined. And then we've got yellow, who are open, they're enthusiastic, they're flexible, they're outgoing, they're charming, they're persuasive. And then we've got green, they're calm, they're reliable, they're predictable, and they're stable and really thoughtful. And then we look at blue, and blue is all about perfection, and they're cautious and they want things to be right, and they're very detail oriented. Now, already those of you who are familiar with disc profiling will understand that there are some similarities there. What I love about this book's actually really easy to read, but it what it does is it helps us by highlighting the differences and the strengths and weaknesses of each of those personality types. And then it helps us by providing real examples so that you can actually put your new knowledge into action. That's what I specifically love about this book, is that it helps you to put that new knowledge to actually implement it. And what it also helps us to realize is that, as I said before, we think everybody is idiots because they're not like us. So this is all about how to overcome that. Now, as I said, it's an easy book to read, and I really recommend it. However, if you're not much of a reader, or you want to check something out before you actually invest in the book, then there's a great YouTube video that has the summary of the key points. And if what you do is check in the chat, that should be going in there now. And, the great thing is that you can go onto YouTube, you can Google it, and there will be these shortened versions that just help to give you an overview of what the whole thing is about. Okay, so we're just looking at how we can actually put that up now for you. So if it doesn't go up right now, that's okay. We'll let you know when it is up. And if you're watching a replay and you can't see that, reach out to us and we'll make sure that we send that to you. Okay, so maybe what will happen is that shortly I'll put them all up for you. All right, so that's the first one, is this one, Surrounded by Idiots by Thomas Erickson. The second one is this book here, which is The Principles of Persuasion. It's all about influence. And this is by Robert Cialdini. Now, there are 7 of these principles of persuasion. And what they do is they once you get familiar with them, what you understand is that they are totally embedded. They're totally embedded in every single thing that we do. We're influenced all the time by marketing, by conversations, by what we're reading, by what we hear, all of those things. These 7 principles of persuasion are in there. So it's things like reciprocity. You do something for them, they're more likely to do something for you. Scarcity. FOMO, like, hey, we've only got 10 of these left. Commitment, if you can get people to say yes and get them to say yes more often, there's that consistency in their decision. And it's about helping them to do that. Social proof, which is all of those testimonials and people saying how good your product is. Liking, we want to be liked by other people. We want to do things by people who are similar to us. Authority, which is all about people in the know, people that we might respect, are recommending something for us. And also the 7th one, which has been developed over the last few years by Cialdini, and that's unity. Now, as I said to you before, this applies to all areas of your life. This is a bit of a thick book, and you can see how how little the words are. It's really, I find this book quite hard going. So if you're not very good at reading textbooks, then this isn't a good one to do. Again, I'll make sure that I put a link in the chat underneath this conversation. So we're having some problems putting them up live for you, but as soon as the conversation is over, as soon as Leadershipization is finished, we'll go in and we'll put those links there for you so that you can actually access them. Okay, so it's an awesome short summary. It's about 11 minutes long, I think. But what's fantastic is that when you go to YouTube, you'll see that there are lots of other great Robert Cialdini videos. And what I particularly like about them is that they give really good examples of when all of these principles of persuasion have been tested and experiments that they've done with them, and they can clearly show exactly how they're going to work. And so you can go away, and this is, when I work through these with clients, they're able to go away from those, watching those videos, and actually be thinking, how does this apply in my circumstance? How does this apply to the niche that I work with, the role that I play, the kind of influence or persuasion that I'm trying to make? Okay, so that's the second one. The third one is this awesome book here, The Coaching Habit. And this is by Michael Bungay Stainer. And this is, if your goal is to be is to have a coaching style of leadership and really grow your team and build their autonomy, then this is the ideal book for you to be using. And it's well worth the investment, not only because of the key 7 questions that it has in it, but also because it's got a whole lot of other practical and really useful questions for you to be using and tools for you to be able to use. What I really like about this book is that it gives us that reminder that every time we solve things for our team because, oh, I can't be bothered, it's easier to do it myself. When we do that, what we're actually doing is we're disempowering them. I think we're helping, but we're not. So this book gives you those 7 questions to help you to coach your team so that you're reaching your goal of building their autonomy, building their confidence, and building their self-belief. So he goes through each of the 7 questions, gives you a whole lot of background and a whole lot of additional questions that you can ask into that, some exercises and things to get things moving, because your goal, as I said, is to build the autonomy of your team members. The questions are open, they're direct, and they're simple to use. So it's things like, what's on your mind? Pause, they speak to you. And then a really awesome question, which is, and what else? Because often takes a couple of, you have to ask a couple of times, and what else, to get closer to the truth. And it's like kind of that peeling back an onion, yeah? And then the third one that he has out of the 7 is, what's the real challenge here for you? And so those 7 questions will bring you closer to a solution that they can actually be working with. I seriously recommend that you buy this book. However, I've put here, and I'll make sure that you've got a link that is actually here for you, which has a summary. So again, before you make the investment, perhaps what you'd like to do is to watch the summary, and just that will really pique your interest. So they're the 3 books that I wanted to look at, 3 of many, but 3 that I know will be really impactful for you in your leadership journey, in your leadership style, in being able to influence and persuade others, and definitely in being able to work out how you can communicate with some of the other personality types that you're likely to encounter. So the 4th thing that I want to look at is a TED Talk. Now, I don't know about you, but I absolutely love TED Talks. And this one is amongst one of my favorites. I'm sharing 2 of my favorites with you today. This one is amongst one of my favorites, and it's a TED Talk called How to Humor Your Stress, and it's by Loretta LaRoche. And I think it's 14 minutes, which is about the average length of any TED Talk. They're never more than 20 minutes long. It's very unusual if they are. And what Loretta looks at from a humorous perspective is the fact that back in the day, there was no such thing as stress. You know, we had neighbours dropping in all the time to say hello. We had friends and family who just laughed at us any time we made a mistake. We just dealt with it and we moved on. And what's happened is that we've moved now. We've moved now to a position where we don't know who our neighbours are. They're not necessarily dropping in on us. We're busy, busy, busy all the time. We've got ailments. We're taking medication. And what she talks about is that that's meant there is so much negativity and so much drama in our lives. And what that does is builds the stress. So she totally pokes fun at some of our behaviors. You know, the things that we do, like walking out of a building, looking, and it's pouring with rain. And so we go, oh, it's raining. And you know, these words that we are languaging, the things that we're saying to ourselves and others, are things that build the drama and they build the stress. And she's wanting us to not only poke fun at ourselves, but to observe how we are behaving and how we do things so that we can do those with much more laughter and much more of a smile on our face. We'll make sure that we give you the link to that TED Talk. Yeah. So the fifth thing is, wait a minute, before I tell you about that, again, a reminder about the TED Talks. If you've not watched a TED Talk, there are TED Talks to cover all sorts of subjects, every single thing that you can think of. And it's well worth, there's huge libraries which have a focus. You can see them. You can subscribe if you want to, but this huge library, and as I said, usually less than 20 minutes. So well worth you getting a number of different perspectives about a really wide range of different things. This fifth one is really, it's a TED Talk that I've used again and again with clients. And it's quite famous. It's been viewed by millions of people, and it's by Amy Cuddy, who's a sociologist, and it's called Your Body Language May Shape Who You Are. And what I love is that Amy does some experiments in this. She talks about the value of thinking about how you're standing, the value of the power pose. So, shoulders back, head up, chest out, and actually being able to pose yourself in this power pose, hands on your hips, breathe in and out a few times really deeply. And she talks about how that's proven. If you do that and then walk into an interview or a sales situation or a new situation for yourself, what you're actually doing is you're coming at that from a powerful position. So prior to those big situations, that's a great thing to do. Just, hips, legs wide, hands on your hips, head up, and go for it. And Amy encourages us to think about the impact that our body language is always going to have, and how if we do that power pose before we go into situations, it can actually shape the outcome for you. Okay, so we will make sure that we put the link for that in the chat as well. Now, I've given you a really wide coverage of things here. And what I would encourage you to do, if you're interested in developing your leadership intelligence, if you're looking at tools that are going to start to consolidate or even start to grow your leadership and your communication skills, these are a great place to start. I've linked them to summaries from YouTube summaries of the books, because that will help you to get an understanding of how important the book can actually be to you. If you're watching this and there are no links, reach out to us and we'll make sure that we get all 5 links to you. So I want to tell you about something else now before we go. On September the 1st, which was the beginning of spring here in Australia, I launched my 365 Days of Growth program. Now, this is daily 60-second videos that come directly to your mailbox that are all about motivating you, inspiring you, lifting you up, leading you, and in many cases are just what you need to hear on a particular day. Now, I've got an introductory offer for this going right now. So we'll make sure, amongst all the other links, we'll make sure that we provide you with a link so that you can click on that to access the details, to go through for secure payment. Reach out if you've got any questions about it. But what will happen is that you make that payment, and within 24 hours, you will get your first video for the 365 days of growth, and you will keep getting them every single day for a full year. So thank you so much for watching today. If you've got any questions or any comments, just pop them in the chat in the platform that you're watching this on. If you're watching a replay, hashtag replay would be wonderful. In the meantime, I will see you next week. Bye now.